come this time. Little sis!
Big sis! Hi. You were gone forever.
It was 3 days.
Where are we going?
Before Maui stole Tifiti's heart, our ancestors wanted to connect our island to all the people of the entire ocean. It's my job as a wayfinder to finish what they started.
Moana, show our people just how far we'll go.
This is a call from the ancestors.
Hidden in a terrible storm, it's an ancient island. Setting foot on its sands would break the curse, bring our people together again.
I know what I have to do. Maui, I could really use your help.
Can I get a chee-hoo?
You will be destroyed, and your wayfinder too.
Now I kind of miss the lava monster. Ow! Ow!
What if you don't come back?
I'll be back. I promise.
Do I hear people?
Those aren't people. Cock'em. You guys, we got this. Bring it on, Coco. Nuts.
You are now listening to the Real Table Podcast with Michael Carter.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Table Podcast with your host, Michael Carter, and it is just good to be back after a nice holiday break. I hope the holiday season treated you well. I love the holidays. It's my favorite time of year. And I know for some, it's not their favorite time of the year, and it's hard for others. So if you're out there and you're enjoying the holiday season, then I'm happy to hear that. And if you're not, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I hope you find some ounce of joy this holiday season, whether it's from watching a show, a movie, maybe getting together with a group of friends, if possible, seeing a loved one. Maybe it's reconnecting with a loved one, right? I hope you find some joy this season. But yeah, I'm glad to be back. A lot, box office wise, has happened. I've seen Wicked, Gladiator 2, and then Moana 2. It's been a pretty busy box office last couple weeks at the box office. 414 million, y'all, between Wicked, Moana, Gladiator. Obviously, I think maybe some other films probably contributed to that, but the big three, right? The big recap of the last 2 weeks, as I called it, the big week. You know, you got Wicked, and you got Moana 2, and then you got Gladiator. And we knew, and exhibitors knew too, this was going to be a big week, a massive week. History, y'all, history. So with raving reviews for Wicked, good reviews for Gladiator, I mean, those two splashed. Wicked, highest grossing musical movie of all time, beating out Grease, which is crazy to think about. And this is how far we've come. I think there's been a lot of musical movies out there. Les Mis, Rent, Chicago, more recently In the Heights. I'm trying to think. I think there's some other ones. But there's been a lot of like musical, Broadway adapted musical films. Mamma Mia, right? And none of those films have gone on to do what Wicked has done. Wicked has really set the foundation to what I'm going to tell you to be prepared for in the coming years to see more adaptations. I think studios right now, and I could be completely wrong, I have no inside scoop or nothing of that sort, but I believe the studios right now are running and trying to figure out what can they do next after what Wicked just did. They're scrambling. They're trying to figure it out. Right? And I'm intrigued. I know some people are like, I'm over musicals. I don't like musicals. And if you don't like musicals, man, don't go see them. Right? But Wicked, I think no matter how you feel about Wicked, whether you liked it or not, it set a foundation for what filmmakers can do when they try with their product. I think I didn't mention this, but West Side Story by Steven Spielberg, the latest adaptation of it, was phenomenal. And I know it didn't get a lot of good traction because of some unfortunate stuff from an actor, but it was a well-filmed movie. And even though it didn't make a splash at the box office, it still put out a good product, right? And Wicked did the same thing. You get a name like Ariana Grande in front of it, you're going to get millions of people that are interested to see how this movie looks and how it turns out. And Wicked is beloved as well. Probably one of my favorite musicals out there. So, again, it's like this goes with everything. It's not even just musicals. When studios put their best foot forward and take care of business and create a product that is worth it, people will show up. Again, no matter what you think about Wicked, I think at the end of the day, Wicked is a solid film at the end of the day. Whether you liked it or not, it's solid technically, right? Acting-wise, it's super solid and it resonates with the people. I think studios, for their next film, that next musical film that they decide to choose, you got to pick a product that's not just going to resonate people, but you got to pick a product where you can get a filmmaker who can translate it well on screen. Doesn't mean make it into two parts. I'm glad that they did Wicked into two parts because I see the vision after watching part one. You see the vision on why it was two parts, right? So that's my thing. I also I think I saw a tweet and somebody, it sounds like they don't like Hamilton, but I'm not going to be surprised. It's going to come. It will come, and when it comes, it's going to come. I very well will see Hamilton as a live action adaptation. I give it the next 5 to 10 years. Next 5 to 10 years. And people will be crawling to get their hands on trying to adapt this. I'm going to be curious to see who does it. It could be Disney. Lynn and Disney have a good relationship. I don't know if Disney has the rights, but it could be Disney. And if not, you got a company like Universal who took good care, in my opinion, of Wicked. I think they could do it too. So, Wicked. Big hit. Part 2, I'm curious to see what part 2 does and how people respond. Because the initial reaction, it's going to be bigger than part 1 because people have seen part 2. I mean, because people have seen part 1, they expect it's going, to turn out to be bigger. So I'm curious to see what that will look like. Gladiator 2, again, solid. Nothing crazy or monumental for Gladiator 2, but I think we knew it was going to be big. And it came in like second place between them and Wicked. Came in second place. But then when Moana came out, it came in third. But yeah, Moana is crazy. Again, between the three films, $414 million. And each film made their budget back. Moana was only $150 million, if I'm not mistaken. And it's going on to do. It's crazy. It's crazy. What Moana is doing. It's the top grossing film of all time for Thanksgiving weekend, right? And this past weekend, it's sailing to 52 million in its second weekend, and it already hit 600 million globally. So it's doing crazy numbers to the point where we're actually having conversations about it doing 1 billion, over 1 billion. I think it can do over 1 billion. And what's fascinating about Moana 2 is that the reception between Wicked and Gladiator, I thought, was much different when you look at Moana 2. You saw a lot more mixed, right? And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into Moana 2. This is a Moana 2 episode, but I felt like we had to talk about this box office stuff, the news and stuff like that, in order to get going and get into what we're about to talk about. But Moana 2, because of its name and its branding, it was due to be bigger hit than Inside Out 2. I think it'll be the highest grossing animated movie of all time when it's all said and done. Right? So it was bound to, I think it was bound to do that, considering that Moana 2 the first Moana was one of the most streamed properties last year, or the most streamed. So the box office it's crazy, and I think Moana 2 has the chance to keep pushing and doing well. December, I think its only competition is going to be Sonic 3. I think everywhere else, maybe Mufasa, but I think Sonic 3 is going to compete with Moana 2, but we'll see. I don't know. Moana 2 is going to have it. It might not beat Moana 2, might not beat Sonic, or vice versa. But I think no matter what, Moana 2 is going to have legs. I think it's going to continue to carry, and people are just going to go see it. Right? Even with the mixed reception. I've talked to some people who are like, I'm just going to wait for Disney Plus. Right? And it's fair. Right? Cool. Moana 2. Let's get into it. Now some history about Moana 2. Moana 2 was originally supposed to be a Disney Plus series. I don't know if a lot of people know that. That was my biggest hesitation about this film. I think it was last year. It was announced that it was being flipped into a movie, and it was a surprise. I don't think anybody had any insight that this was going to happen, but it was a surprise announcement. And that got me going, oh, this could be cool. But then you think about it, it was supposed to be a Disney Plus series. Now, the Disney Plus series, they put a lot of money into it. They put a lot of effort into these series and products. But my hesitation is that, when you do a series, there's a lot of added stuff. There's a lot of layers. There's a lot of things that wouldn't work for a theatrical movie that you add in, right? And so that's the initial hesitation. And so ever since this was announced, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to do. The trailer is released, the first teaser, and my frustration started is that the first teaser only teased music that was from the first movie. You have to recall that stuff, right? But there was a frustration there where it was like, I didn't get much. I didn't see much. You're not giving me anything to get me excited about this sequel. You're giving me nothing, especially after you announced that it's a Disney Plus. It was supposed to be a Disney Plus series. Now, not everybody knows that, right? They know that. Not everybody knows that. But for the people that do know that and keep up and watch and listen and, read, we know these things, right? And so that was my hesitation. I'm like, the first trailer doesn't give much. Doesn't give a lot of music. Second trailer, I think, didn't do the same thing. And so there was just a lot of, for me, I'm just not excited. I'm not excited for this movie that was supposed to be a Disney Plus series. Will it come out clean? Will it look good? Will it feel funny, funky? Will the animation really look lackluster? Right? So that was my hesitation. And so it wasn't something that I ran to go see like I did with Wicked and Gladiator. Like I didn't run to go see it. Right? So me and the wife went to go see it this past week. Decided to do a date night, go see Moana 2. I'm like, okay, cool. So we sit down. I think we both had low expectations. She heard it was bad. She heard a lot of negative stuff. I'm like, I heard a lot of mixed stuff, but also not great stuff. So we sit down, and something about the beginning. This is weird. This is a weird nitpicky thing. Something about the very, very, very beginning, just how it starts in general, made me go, we could have crafted a better opening, but we didn't. And not to spoil it, it's not really a spoiler. It literally just starts with, the Disney credits and then goes into Moana 2 title card. And I'm like, that's a way to start it. That's a way to start the movie, but something made me feel weird about it. Now, this could be the fact that I know that it was supposed to be a Disney Plus series, and so there's a lot of things going on in my brain. But instantly, I have to turn it off and be like, watch it for what it is. Didn't give an opinion. Didn't give some thoughts. Highly surprised though overall. When the movie ended and the credits rolled, me and my wife looked at each other and we're like, that was a lot better than we thought. We thought it was pretty good. Pretty good might be I might be giving away too much or giving too much by saying pretty good, but I thought we thought it was solid. It was a solid film. It wasn't as bad as we thought from the reception. So we went, after we got done, we're like, there were definitely some aspects that we thought felt off, right? It just felt off about the movie where you're like, you could have cut that out. That could have been shorter. And maybe fill the space with something different, right? So overall, I gave it 7.5 out of 10, or 7.5 out of 10, either or. But it still wasn't Disney's best. I think also, what I struggle with is that as this movie is out and as it comes out and Disney decides to do this, usually sequels are not better than the first. We know this. But I think of sequels like, I think of Incredibles 2. I think of Toy Story 2. Right? I might even put Inside Out 2 in that bucket. When we look at sequels like this, usually they're really solid. Like they feel really, really good. And it feels like this was earned and you didn't have to make it like with some sequels and most stories. You can tie it up in the first movie and call it a day, but it felt like, oh, this was good. Like, I'm glad that this happened. This one, it's like, I want to feel that Moana 2 should happen, but I also think, it felt like I didn't feel afterwards like, oh my God, that was triumphant, right? It felt like it was definitely a lackluster sequel. And luckily for Disney, they know that the name Moana 2, you're not going to scare a lot of people away. People are still going to go see the movie. But I think what isn't in their favor is that you are getting people that love Moana and that love Disney and have gone to see it the week of, and they're coming away with it, and some of them don't like it. And that's that word of mouth that could hurt it. Even though I'm like, the movie has legs, I do think it can hurt it in the long run, that people are going to go see it and some people don't like it. And some people that don't like it for valid reasons, right? Don't like it for valid reasons, right? Like the music. The music. It's missing Lin-Manuel Miranda. It is missing him. I think it is missing him. I think the people, and forgive me, I don't even have their names written down. I just know the people that did the music for this movie, they tried to be too much like Lin in some of the songs. You can hear it. You can hear some of the stuff where it's like, oh, I'm like, this feels like it wants to be Lin's music. It's different, but I'm like, they're trying to play into Lin stuff, which sure is a good thing. But I'm also like, if you bring Lin back, how much of the same stuff does he still pull from? Does he try to be a little different, right? Does he try to just be a little different with the things that he creates in the music that he makes for this property, right? Now they do recall, there's some little music excerpts that they do recall, and they keep that going, which is good. There's a good creative choice not to shy away from the score and from the things that made Moana great, right? The first movie. But overall, the music, it just doesn't capture it. It doesn't work. It just doesn't. The only song that worked for me was Beyond, which is Moana's song, that you hear early on. It's adjacent to How Far I Go. It's the How Far I Go for Moana 2. So Beyond worked for me. It was the best song. I talked to a friend who didn't love it, and that's fair. But the other songs you're kind of missing. You're swinging and missing, and they're trying something different. And some of them they do try something different, but it don't land. I saw a quote recently about the music, because the music is, it's drawing enough criticism for the songwriters to speak on it. And so they respond. I want to talk about that. Actually, before we get to that, because I really want to talk about that. Before I get to that, the plot overall is solid. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a pretty good plot. It does do a lot of recalling of some of the story movement of the first movie. It does feel like it's the same. It's adjacent to A New Hope with Force Awakens for Star Wars people. Some of the cadences of the story, you're like, this is a similar track line. This is a similar feel to what the first did. It's safe, way too safe, which again makes me, it recalls to the idea of it being a Disney Plus series, because with stuff like that, they like to play it safe, give you something familiar, right? So the plot was solid, but it's way too similar to the first, which I think can be an issue. But yeah, Moana 2, very, very solid. But let's get into the criticism of the music, which this is I'm kind of glad that this is happening, because this puts Disney on notice. This puts Disney a little bit on notice. I think they've gotten lazy over there. Well, Michael, it's just one movie. No, this is movie number 2 years in a row. Remember about that movie that you forgot about called Wish? Right? That was pretty, like, I wouldn't mince words about it. Pretty mediocre. And pretty not good. Remember that movie? Not good music, not memorable music. That's what I think. That's where Moana 2 kind of falls in line a little bit, right? And so one of the quotes from the songwriters, and they're trying to defend. Abigail Barlow is one of the songwriters, and they, Variety was asking, like, hey, like, what are your thoughts on the criticism? And one of the quotes, it said, "Give it a month, all of the kids will be singing it, and you'll be tired of it." Give it a month, all the kids will be singing it, and you'll be tired of it. I think you certainly, you have to defend your work. You have to stand on it. Respect them. You have to defend it. You have to stand on it. I think I'm disappointed in that quote, and I think I'm more disappointed in it because if your music isn't hitting, I don't think I think it says a lot if you're saying right now, give it a month, all the kids will be singing it, and you'll be tired of it. Within seconds, usually, with good Disney movies and good Disney music, the ones that hit, and you're already listening to it, and it's charting, and right when it's doing when it's doing the numbers, and it's hitting, you don't have to say that. Lin-Manuel Miranda didn't have to come out and defend that. He didn't have to, right? And even when you do have to come out and defend it, I don't think give it a month, all the kids will be singing and you'll be tired of it is the right word, right? I think what these songs are missing And I still don't want to put Beyond in that category. I think these songs are missing his heart. And they're missing moments where they can connect with you emotionally. Right? Wish didn't do that. It falls in the same line where none of the songs really connected with you. That's the bread and butter of Disney movies. We didn't just connect with Frozen because of the story. Frozen worked because of the music as well. So I think Disney has gotten to, I don't want to say lazy because I know they work hard over there. But man, this is like, I would put this in the bag of it being a hit and not being a hit. It's not a hit in terms of criticism. In terms of money and box office, it works. Numbers don't lie. But there's a space there where you have to go and you have to be real with yourself and go. The criticism, right? Taking in the criticism and going, how can we do something better? Because right now, in my opinion, Disney is in the sequel mill. We know Zootopia 2, I think, comes out next year. We're in a sequel mill, the sequel spiral, where it's kind of exhausting because I'm waiting for Disney to dig in and find their next thing. Encanto worked. Even with the slow reception for that, it came out around Thanksgiving. Slow reception, it carried over and it worked. Oh, and guess who did the music for Encanto? Lin-Manuel Miranda. You don't have to love the music, but respect the fact that people connect with it, right? It works. That's the problem with these films so far, or these like Wish and now Moana 2. That's the problem. The music isn't connecting with the people. So I respect them for standing 10 feet down on their work and protecting and defending their work, but like, oh, give it a month. Oh, give it. Disney movies, you don't usually give it a month. I think if people, especially for a title like Moana, right? For a title like Moana, if you go in numbers, people go in numbers to see it. If they're not listening and singing this music now, in 10 years, I'm really curious. Will this soundtrack actually have memorability? Will it be Lion King? Will it be Tarzan? Probably not. Setting the bar too high. I don't like that comment. I get it. You have to respond. But I think as we look onward for Moana 3, it's happening. You see the numbers. It's happening. Get Lin back in the chair, Disney. Disney needs to get Lin back in the chair. Right? And I think for a lot of these movies, Wonka, I throw Wonka in that bin with Timothy Chalamet. Wonka. I didn't like the movie, and I also did not like the music. I'm all about giving people opportunities to make an impact and make their impact. But dude, if you're hiring unproven songwriters and unproven people to make really good music for your films, you better hope they swing and they swing well. Home run. We don't need a single. It can't be a single, right? I'd say Moana 2 is more of a single base hit. Home run, you nail it, right? And you look at some of these movies that try to do that and they don't nail it. Lin needs to be in the chair in Moana 3. He just needs to. And it is no offense to I think Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear. It's zero offense to those people. Zero offense, but the numbers speak. Right? It's not let's wait a month to see what happens. No, it should be happening now. It's Moana, right? The first Moana did numbers years after. Last year was the most watched property on all streaming platforms, right? It was the most watched. It needs to do numbers like now, not next year, right? So they need to go back to proven people. Get the proven people, right? That's how I feel about it. Get the proven people. And I'm curious again because I know they're going to fast track that. I'm curious too how that'll work. Now, which this also makes me a little frustrated. Beyond Moana 2, the Moana live action is actually happening, and there's set photos, and it's kind of a mess. It's kind of a mess. I'm curious to see if Lynn is returning to do the music on that. I don't think there's any word on that. But you've got to go get Lynn for number 3. You've got to. I don't think, even with the success, I don't think they should take the success as just a win, because it's Moana. People are going to show up either way. If you really want a real win, go back and get a proven team to make number 3. Right? You know that you want to do a movie. Go get Lynn and make Moana 3 just as good as Moana 1 or even better. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like for the future. But Moana 2 is solid, and for people that decide that they want to wait, go for it. I don't blame you. It was a date night idea, and it was like, well, let's go check it out. And I won't say I regret it. It'll be different if I sat here right now and said I regret paying money to go see Moana 2, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. But I do think there's so much room for potential there. And I liked some of the plot lines, some of the storylines, the newer characters. I liked seeing some newer faces. And I know that there are plans to have those newer faces have more story. But because, again, when you pivot into a movie, you have an hour and 40 minutes, you've got to shave off a lot of stuff. So I wanted to. You can take it or leave it. That's up to you. But yep, I'm curious to see how the legs go on this movie. I'm curious to see. Moving on, Christmas. Christmas is here. Christmas at the table. It is here, and I'm excited. I'm so excited for the slate that we got. More to come. But on the 11th, we're doing both Grinch movies. 13th, Polar Express. 16th, The Holiday. 18th, A Christmas Story. And another slate to come within that next time frame. But I'm so excited to do Christmas movies. It'll be fun. I'll have some people on, and we'll talk about some of these great movies, man. It's Christmas time. And again, I know it's not the greatest time for all people. And I hope this podcast, for some of you who are struggling or not having the greatest holiday season right now, I hope this podcast gives you some kind of joy to hear other voices and to see and hear about these movies. Some of them which you probably have seen, and some of them you probably never seen. So I'm excited. I'm excited to talk more Christmas movies and award season. Award season. I think I did an award season, a couple award season episodes, maybe 3 last year. I really didn't publicize it, really didn't hype it up, but I did the Oscar recap, nominations recap, I did the show recap. Like I did some episodes on award season, but we're really getting underway right now. Golden Globes comes out, the nominations comes out tomorrow, or if you're listening to this on Monday, it comes out today, Monday. Globes nominations. I'm curious to see. I think Wicked's going to do some numbers there. Curious if Moana gets any recognition. That'll be interesting. Dune Part 2. Furiosa. This is a slate of movies, and there's other movies that are making waves right now. But it is that time of year for award season, and I'm really excited to get into it and talk about it. Right now, I'm not as hyped about the awards stuff this year. There's never a bad year for movies, but I think there is a year where you can go, it's not as great in a sense. And so I think this might be that year. There's some titles, obviously, that are on my list that I got to check out. But I'm curious. I'm really curious when I watch some of these titles. How I'll feel towards award season as we continue onward, because there's always some good ones. You've always got good ones, but right now, looking at the slate and not sure if any of these are like heavy hitters or not, but we'll see. but we'll see. So be on the lookout. We're going to do some award season episodes. We're going to talk Globes nominations. Probably do that sometime, maybe record that sometime this week, along with the Christmas episodes that we got on the way. But stay tuned for that, and we're going to get that on the way. So I think that's about it for the Real Table Podcast. It's great to be back as always. Christmas time is here, and I can't wait to talk these Christmas movies with you all. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Hey, if you know somebody that likes the Real Table Podcast, or that likes movies, show them the Real Table Podcast. I love new listeners. I want new listeners. And yeah, let's connect about movies. I love this platform. I love what I get to do. And I love bringing people on here. So yeah, share with them the Real Table Podcast. And hopefully that'll make somebody's day. Hopefully. All right. That's it for today. I will talk to y'all real soon. See y'all later. Peace. Once again, thank y'all so much for joining me today on the Real Table Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and even comment. I want to hear your thoughts and I want to hear your opinions. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Real Table Pod and on Twitter at The Real Table. And don't forget to also check me out on therealtable.com for news, articles, and reviews. I will see y'all soon. Peace.